Well, no one told you life was gonna be this way. Hey everyone, welcome to Screen Weens, the podcast where we talk about old white men. Let's fucking go!
And this week's episode is on famous white man
Harold Lloyd, who apparently is the naming inspiration for Harry and Lloyd in Dumb and Dumber.
I could see it. That makes sense.
I'm like, oh yeah, that tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So today is episode 170?
Maybe.
We'll go with that. 170. Today we're doing a deep dive on Harold Lloyd, who is a big-time silent film actor, sometimes director, who was popular in the late 10s and throughout the 20s.
Apparently, I was reading that he was one of the ones that transitioned pretty well into the early talkie era.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get into it. But yeah, he was like definitely one of the people that was like at the forefront. He's like, no, this is about to happen. We need to be on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I almost watched last night. I watched Kid Brother and Safety Last, and it was like my bedtime. It was past my bedtime. I'm like, I should go to bed. But I just couldn't sleep. And I almost watched, I think it's Welcome Danger, is his first talkie, which came out the year after Speedy.
Yeah, I was just kind of like thumbing through his films, and I came across the one that had like the exact same plot as Safety Last, and I was like,
Feet First, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I realized it was a talkie, and I was
and
like,
the sins of, I think it's called The Sins of Diddlebach, which is an insane name.
Yes.
That was pretty much the last movie he was in. It's by Preston Sturges, who's, if you saw his catalog, you'd be like, oh yeah, that guy. But he was like a fan of his, and he was like, we should do a sequel to The Freshman. And it was like 20 years later, it was a sequel. Apparently it's not very good.
Wow.
But we'll talk about that more when we talk about Harold Lloyd as a person. But as always, we're going to take a couple minutes to talk about our week, our lives, what we've been up to.
Yeah.
Thomas, anything besides? We did have to watch a lot of movies, but they all were pretty short, so.
Yeah, I watched that Violent Night movie.
I saw that in theaters, and everyone I saw it with was like, this is so good! And I think it's fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I thought
Did you like it?
I thought it was fine. I think it pulled off what it wanted to be. To me, it was very easy to kind of like see what the pieces that they were going for. Yeah. It kind of just felt like, oh, this is kind of like Die Hard if Santa Claus was John McClane, and instead of a big motel, it was the Arrested Development household.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I thought it was interesting. I had no idea. I don't consider this a spoiler because they reveal it in like the first 30 seconds of the movie. I thought it was like a mall Santa.
Oh, you didn't realize it was actually...
No. So quite early on, I was like, oh, I think it's got kind of a slow start. I think I would have held back the Santa reveal till like partway through the film. That way you could kind of go along and be like, who is this guy? What? And he finds the radio, and he's like, no, I'm really Santa. It could have been, like, a nice, decent, like, oh, fuck, this is actually Santa. But I guess I can see why they would want to reveal that early on, too.
Yeah. That movie has some stuff going for it that I really enjoy. I really like John Leguizamo as the villain, where he's like, I'm Mr. Scrooge, I hate Christmas. And then when he finds out that he's really Santa, he's like, that's even better.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I thought he was pretty good. If I had one major critique, I would say I thought it was shot pretty bland.
Yeah, I will say that. I also like I'm like, if you want a Christmas themed, I want it to be like, I want you to plunge it in like reds and greens and stuff. You know? Instead of just being like a random house.
Or even like reds and whites, or, I mean, there's colors.
There's the scene, he's in like the shed and he gets the hammer and stuff, and it's so fucking dark.
Yeah.
When we talked about it originally, when I had seen it, I because that scene's awesome. It's fun to watch. I was like, come on.
Yeah, no, they definitely could have like.
There's no real use for the darkness. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
I do like the final like kill in the movie. That's fun.
Oh, with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that was fun.
Yeah, I thought that one was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a fun. I'll probably see the second one. They greenlit that one.
Yeah, I'll probably check it out. I hope they go the direction of like later Die Hard sequels where they don't try to copy Die Hard 1, so they just kind of try to copy some other action movie or do something else with it. How cool would it be if like it was like Santa but Speed or something? I don't know. We've slept or
there's C4 on the sleigh.
Yeah, it's like just gotta drop them down the chimneys or something. It's like a hoops game.
Santa but Face Off. Someone else's Santa Claus?
Isn't that kind of the Santa Claus 2 and 3?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Violent Night should just rip off the Santa Claus movies.
Yeah, there were some points where it felt like they were kind of taking some inspiration from it, but
I really like David Harbour in most things. I just think he's in a lot of really bad things.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, he's like genuinely seems to be trying in that Hellboy reboot. That movie's just so fucking atrocious.
Yeah, that one was going to be an uphill battle for him. Like, I can understand why he took it. Like, if I got offered that role, I'd probably take it too.
Yeah.
But
like, that sounds, I want to play Hellboy. If somebody came up to me, I'm like, sure.
Yeah. It's like, fuck yeah. It's like, I mean, I'd feel bad, but I think he, like, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure he, like, told interview circuits that he was in, like, a phone call with Ron Perlman, and he, like, kind of talked it over with him and stuff. Because, obviously, he was heartbroken when that stuff was going on. Hashtag it's never too late. Guillermo, Ron Perlman, they're both still alive.
Yeah, they're both still making movies.
Yeah,
too.
So it's like, it's not never say never, but I know he's a little stubborn.
Ooh, speaking of Guillermo del Toro, I was at Half Price Books the other day, and I got a copy of The Strain.
Oh, did he write that?
I think he wrote the original like screenplay, and there's an adaptation of that. I think something like that.
Oh, okay, because that's like, is that attached to that like TV show that was on like a few years ago? Might have been more than a few years ago now.
Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan, the Strain trilogy.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I just have so many books that I haven't read. I've been reading Dune. I was really into Harold Lloyd this week, so I was like, okay, but I'm like a third through it. But now I'm like, well, I'm because there's 3 like books in it, 3 parts, and I finished that first part, which is the longest part. Mm-hmm. And I just have to sit down and read it now, because now that we're done with a deep dive, I'll probably finish it this week. But yeah, it's been going good. We started watching, me, Hinata, and Pierre, we started watching Superman and Lois.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
It's great. It's so,
yeah, when I finished that first season, I was like, it definitely has some issues, but overall, I think it's probably like the best piece of like live action Superman media since the original Christopher Reeve movie. So
yeah, I think we're 9 episodes in, so we're getting close to the end of season 1. Mm-hmm. And I think there are some story choices that I think are kind of dumb. Like, they're like, that makes sense for a CW show. But I think, like, the character writing is fantastic.
Yeah.
Not just for Superman, but I think, like, Lois is well written. And for being, like, a show exclusive, I think Jordan Kent's a really intriguing character. I think having that twin dynamic's, like, really cool.
Yeah, no, I really like it. I need to watch. I might rewatch the first season here soon and watch into the second one. And I know.
Did you ever watch the second season?
I got partway through it before I moved out, and then
right.
I didn't have cable, so I wasn't able to like record episodes as they were coming out weekly. I could have pirated them, but I just didn't get around to it.
That's fair.
But yeah. Now that the second season's done and over, I'll probably like go through.
Yeah, it seems.
I know the third season was greenlit.
It starts soon. I think the guy who plays Jonathan Kent, he like stepped out. They recasted him.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Apparently, he had like personal things, so he couldn't do it.
But his brother's still on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll.
Yeah,
That'll be interesting.
I've been like loving it though. I'm like, this is so good. Hinatea, we watched the first episode. She looked at me and she was like, why was that good? Because, we're used to other CW superhero shows.
Because they knew they had the soups, so they had to step it up.
So, it's so good. It looks bad. Well, the effects look bad, but like...
Compared to the rest of CW.
I think, regular shots, I think, are beautiful. Like, it's a really nice-looking show. Mm-hmm. It seems like there's a good cinematographer, whoever's, shooting. And then there's, bad CW effects. But I think that's excusable. Because at least they do, fun things with them. Mm-hmm. I feel like in a lot of Marvel shows, it's just, for instance, Moon Knight is just, why is he wearing a CG suit? What's this? I love the... Hinatea does not like the Superman suit in Superman and Lois. And I'm like, it's so goofy. I love it. I love the beginning scene when he has
the classic suit.
Yeah, that's good.
Thanks, my mom made it.
Such a good.
Yeah, dude. And Tyler Hoechlin, going into it, whenever I, saw stuff, because
I think he's my favorite Superman from what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Maybe once I rewatch, because I watched Smallville a lot growing up. Maybe... Mm-hmm. Whatever his name is.
Tom something.
Tom Brady, yep.
Yeah. I've been slowly buying the DVDs to Smallville. Once I have the complete set, I'll probably take the dive. But yeah, I've been meaning to watch more Superman television in general, because I want to watch... I have the old George Reeves stuff. He's George Reeves and it's Christopher Reeve. They get mixed around a lot, because it's what the hell? What the hell was this weird coincidence in the casting? But, and then as much as I don't like Dean Cain, I gotta watch that Dean Cain show, because I've heard great things from it. And I've seen some clips from it, and it looks pretty good. So it's
Is that The Adventures of Superman and Lois or something? Yeah, I've heard that's good. And I'm just maybe I'll just... He's old. I could just wait for him to die. I mean, I don't really care. I might watch it.
He's not... that old.
I could kill him.
True. He could potentially live with us for another 40 years or so.
Live with us. Speaking of which, come on in, Dean Cain. He's our guest today. I hate women.
Yeah, I don't know if he...
What do you mean, Superman's gay?
Yeah, that's more up the camp of what I've heard from him. Yeah, because Fox News brought him in, because when Jonathan Kent came out, which he was already gay before. Yeah. It's just he got a boyfriend. Yeah, and he came out. Wild. He's like, very un-American, blah, blah, blah. And it's shut up, Dean Cain. You don't know shit.
Yeah.
It's as Superman, I do not endorse this. It's you haven't been Superman for
40 years.
More 30, but yes. Or maybe 40 now. I don't know.
Was it 80s or 90s?
It was 90s.
Okay,
90s. 90s into, I think, maybe even the early 2000s.
Well, okay. Well, fine. Dean Cain, maybe we can talk, Maybe till 2023 I'll try to be more understanding. Already changed my mind.
Yeah.
Superman has some interesting stuff coming out, both the DCU new thing came out.
I heard that he announced a slate, but I haven't.
It seems relatively interesting. First, movie coming out is, I think, a Superman movie called Superman Legacy, I think.
I've been waiting so long for just a fucking Superman movie.
They are they're keeping, the Reeves verse its own thing. Robert Pattinson's not going to be the Batman of their universe, I think is a way.
For a second, I thought you meant Christopher Reeves. Superman.
No, Matt Reeves. Sorry,
I was like, what?
Yeah, they're CGIing.
I was like, was that
pretty close?
A question at some point?
But
that makes sense, because I think you could probably squeeze a good trilogy out of Robert Pattinson's Batman and have it be its own thing. Yeah.
Well, I'm even fine with them, because they're expanding with the Penguin show and stuff. And I'm like, that's interesting enough. Mm-hmm. But the first Batman thing they haven't is going to be called The Brave and the Bold, and it's going to have Damian Wayne in it, and it's going to introduce some Bat family stuff. So sounds interesting. They're going to do a Booster Gold TV show. Ooh. Which I'm like, that's so fucking hype.
Yeah, you can expect James Gunn to pick some stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if he had his way, he would have made a Howard the Duck movie. for Marvel. So
I was actually like thinking about it. I'm like, I wonder if he's gonna pick like Booster Gold or like Plastic Man or something.
Yeah.
But Booster Gold, I think, is like a good addition. I really like Booster Gold.
Yeah, I like Booster Gold too.
He's right behind you on the wall, right next to Sleepwalker. Yeah,
him and Blue Beetle.
That run was really fun. I really enjoyed that 8 issues. They stream. They're streamers in that.
Of course they are.
They're like, we are poor right now.
I mean, if there was any good superhero to do it, it'd be it. I mean, I'm sure there's probably others.
They run out of all their money, and Booster Gold's like, what if we just stream everything? And then everyone's just like, this is CG! Or, you're not as cool as Superman!
Yeah, that's
And then there's like one person being like, I want to fuck Booster Gold so bad. I actually really like the addition of, they pretty much have like a Twitch like chat in like the comic.
Yeah, dude, honestly, like, I feel like comic would be like perfect because you could just do like the standard comic panels, but then just have a Twitch chat like on the side where it's normally blank space.
But Superman, they're doing Dawn of DC where they're kind of rebooting different characters and doing new number ones.
Of course.
And Joshua Williamson, I think his name is, he's doing Superman. And he had just done the previous, like, Batman run. He did, like, 25 issues of that or something like that. Chip Zdarsky took over for him. But I just read his Dark Ride run, which is like a evil amusement park. And it was really fun. So I'm excited for that. So I'm going to get that. There's also a series, I think it's just going to be like 3 or 4 issues called Superman Lost. Where it's him and he goes on like a routine kind of space journey with the Justice League. And then suddenly he's back in Metropolis and Lois is like, oh, you're back so soon. And he's like, what do you mean? I've been gone 20 years. So for everyone else, it's been like 5 seconds. But for him, he's like been gone 20 years and he has to like, the comic is supposed to be about him like trying to regain why he became Superman, to like regain who he is. So I'm gonna read that because that sounds dope. Yeah, a lot of cool Superman stuff coming out, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
They're also doing some Green Lantern stuff for the DCU with sense. Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart like together.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the best way to go forward. Appease both camps.
But yeah, I didn't look a ton. Oh, they're doing a Swamp Thing, I think, movie?
Oh, okay.
Or maybe a show. But that sounds fun. Slate looks fun. I like it. I don't, like I said, I don't care a whole lot about superhero stuff, but I at least want it to be like semi-interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
he is still continuing some of his like Suicide Squad stuff. Which I'm like, of course he is. That's like the only things that people like.
Yeah. No, I haven't completely sworn off like superhero media. It's just like, I'm so tired of just like biting into like what I think is a nice meaty sandwich and then just like, oh, it's all bread. It's like,
yeah.
Like Marvel's stuff is just very like checklist and hollow. And
I don't give a shit about Marvel anymore. Like, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I haven't for a while, but
like,
I might do
Harold
the catch
Lloyd was in it.
That's all right, dude. Harold Lloyd. It looks like they probably like based Peter Parker's like original design off of him. He straight up just looks a lot like that original, like Stanley era Peter Parker. But
which is interesting. I was watching him. Well, we're not quite there yet, but I'll talk more about that soon. But yeah, that's what I've been. Let me see if I watched anything else.
And then, I said last week I beat Red Dead Redemption 1, right?
Yeah.
And I started 2 again.
Nice. I did watch A Man Called Otto, which is that new Tom Hanks movie based on Swedish film, I think, called A Man Called Ove, which was based on a book about a bitter old man who wants to die, and then he gets new neighbors who are, like, annoying, but, like, annoying in a way that they're just too nice, and they like refuse to let him push them away, kind of thing. It was good enough. it's pretty generic, but Tom Hanks is good, and the performance is pretty good, and it was a nice movie to just, it was like I went to the theater, it was kind of a cold, rainy day, and it was a nice, reprieve from that. Sometimes that's all a movie needs to be.
Yeah. I watched, I finally got around to watching the acclaimed David Pumpkin skit from SNL with Tom Hanks.
It's pretty fun. It's fun enough. Well, at least from when it came out, I remember liking it. I think I was like 13.
I saw something like floating around that was like, oh, this is like widely considered to be like among the greatest SNL sketches of all time. And I was like, I'll check it out. And I checked it out and I was like, well, that was funny. Yeah.
It's not as funny as any Adam Driver SNL skit.
No.
Like the Career Day one, I think might be my favorite SNL skit of all time.
Is that the Secret Boss one? Or?
No, that's the one where he's pretty much the oil baron from There Will Be Blood, and Pete Davidson is his son, and he's in like a high school, and he's like, oh, here's William's dad, and he's like, Barnabas S. Bickleby, and he goes up, and he's like, I'm no... I was like, what's it like? And he's like, you grind your enemies into dust. Yeah. And Pete Davidson cannot keep a straight face because Adam Driver's just like screaming in his face. It's so good.
Yeah, no, I remember that one.
I watched that one like probably every like 3 months. I'm like, I remember that skit.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't really go back and watch SNL sketches a whole lot, but every once in a while I'll go back and watch a handful of them. I'm one of the weirdos who grew up watching a lot of the compilation tapes of like the 70s SNL, so
fair.
I'm a little out of whack from everybody else on the SNL scale.
And then the only other thing I watched this week is yesterday and today I did watch a couple other Harold Lloyd shorts, kind of the ones that were, because we're going to be talking about kind of his, I guess, golden era.
Yeah, it seemed like a straight run of his films from the 20s.
But we're not talking about his early stuff. So I was watching some of his early stuff. I watched, like yesterday, I watched a movie called His Royal Slyness, which was fun. I enjoyed that one. He pretty much has to go to another country because the prince of that country looks shockingly like him. So he's like, oh, I'll just be him so I can just marry the princess.
That's tough. Of course.
Because the prince doesn't want to. He wants to marry this other woman. So they just switch places pretty much. And that one's fun. And then I watched Over the Fence today, which is the earliest, available Glasses character one, because he didn't always play the Glasses character. That was a later invention. But
I see.
The earliest surviving thing of him playing it is Over the Fence, where he has tickets to go see a football game, and then this guy that he works with steals them. Sorry, I said football. I meant baseball. He steals them and takes his girlfriend instead. So he's like, okay, fine. And so he sneaks into the game pretending to be a player. And it's like a 5-minute short. But and then I also watched one called That's Him, where he gets like framed for something. Or It's Him, something like that. Where he gets framed for a crime. And they keep going, That's Him!
I see.
And that one was okay. I think it should have been like maybe a two-reeler, because it's only like 10 minutes. Should have been probably 20 to kind of set it up. It's a little too breakneck at the beginning to set things up.
Yeah.
But one thing I noticed with a lot of his early stuff is he really liked beating the shit out of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, okay, I'm going to beat the shit out of him.
I can see it.
Which is funny because that's also how it started being towards the end of the movies we started watching. Like, he's mild-mannered, but then, like, Kid Brother and Speedy, he just starts fighting people. Like, good. Bringing that back. So, yeah, let's see if we have questions, and then after that we'll talk about Harold Lloyd.
Ooh. Let's see. Any questions?
Screen wing. No questions.
Uh-oh.
All right. Let's talk about Harold Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
So, he was born in 1895? Something like that? No, that can't be right. 90 maybe? I'll check. 1893. That was close.
Oh, wow.
1893, died in 1971. He died 52 years ago. So 1893 rolls around, and he's like, he was a pretty poor kid. He was not classically trained in a lot of like the theater and stuff, which is one of the big things that separates him from like Laurel and Hardy and Keaton and Chaplin. Like all of these people were theater kids pretty much and like performed in the theater. He did not. He worked in a theater, I think, like a movie theater. And he's like, I love the cinema. I want to work there. And his dad, his name was Foxy, and Harold's brother's name, very important, Gaylord.
Yeah. Just like the Fokker.
Yeah. I'm like, I love Meet the Parents. And I'm like, I forgot that was a real name at one point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring that name
I
back.
was going to say, it should be again.
Yeah. Gaylord Lloyd. So his father was like, apparently a pretty like nice dude and had a lot of ambition, but like couldn't keep a job and just was trying, but just was striking out everywhere he turned. But I think around the time, I think it was like 1910, around there, 1910, 1911. So Harold was either like 17, 18, maybe even 20. His dad gets into like a motorboat crash or something like that, and gets $3,000 because of like insurance and stuff. He wants to move to New York. Harold wants to move to California to be in the movies. They flip a coin for it. Lands on Harold's side. They move to California. They didn't win that coin flip. We might not get any of these movies.
Or so any of the resulting effects
which are
from this.
Huge.
I'm sure.
So they move to California. He starts working as an extra in a lot of things. He meets Hal Roach, who is also working as an extra in a lot of these movies. Hal Roach would go on to be a pretty successful director. He would direct a lot of his early shorts, and then he would also start directing a lot of Little Rascals shorts. And then he would be pretty big in like a lot of producing roles. Like I'm pretty sure he produced a lot of like the Marx Brothers stuff. Yeah,
because one of the original silent era Little Rascals showed up in I think it was Girl Shy. It's like when two kids are playing in the tailor shop, I think.
That's right. That's the
chubby kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one that's on the ground, like, rolling the ball. That kid is funny looking.
Yeah, no, he's from the original silent era of
I haven't seen any of those.
So. I haven't seen any of that era. I did watch a lot of, like, the 30s Little Rascals growing up, though, just because I had tapes.
So they get together. I watched a couple clips from, like, the first things he was in. These I don't think really have survived, or they're locked away in a vault. But, like, his first role... A lot of his first roles, he's wearing, like, blackface and brownface, just because he's, like, extras in the back. Like, one of the early adaptations of The Wizard of Oz, he plays, like, a tribalman or something like that, and they're all just, like...
In The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I don't know. Hal Roach played the Cowardly Lion in that, I think. So he had, like, a bigger role. But they eventually were like, what if we just started making shorts? And Harold Lloyd's output was insane. He made, like, 200 to 300 movies. Yeah. Like, when he was making shorts, they were making, like, probably, like, 20 a year. They were going crazy. And what's funny about Harold Lloyd is he wanted to be a dramatic actor.
No, really?
Yeah. He didn't have any inkling for comedy at all. And from all the interviews and, like, I've watched about him, he was a pretty, like, mellow, just, like, laid-back dude in real life, in the regards, like, he wasn't funny. Like, he wasn't trying to be funny either.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that also puts him apart from these other guys, is he wasn't really a comedian. He was just acting as a funny guy, and it worked. But they started making shorts, and he has, from what I've read, it seems like he has 3 characters. They started off with one called, I think, Willie Work, which was pretty much just a blatant ripoff of Chaplin. He had a mustache, he had big clothing. His mustache, however, was separated in the middle. And actually, instead of big clothing, he had really tight clothes. But, like, and they were talking about it, it's like, people wanted to see Chaplin. They didn't even care if it was Chaplin. That's the kind of style they wanted to see. Then he started playing a character called Lonesome Luke, which is more like abrasive and like slapstick and kind of like a meaner character. And that he was in like 70 shorts as that character.
Oh, really?
But then it's 1915, I think. A short called Just Nuts, which I think is, from what I've read, I don't think it's available anywhere for us, but it does look like it might be in a museum or something. And that, I think, is the beginning of the Glasses character. And now, first couple of years, even though he was playing the Glasses character, he had the glasses, he was still kind of playing the same character. He was more abrasive and stuff. Even the ones I was watching, he was more just like playing the original like Lonesome Luke character, just with glasses. But
makes sense.
As we get on, he starts getting more sentimental, more romantic, more dramatic, less, I don't know, dickish. And then like Never Weaken is a really good example of like the Glasses character in his entirety, which would go on to be in like Safety Last. So that was just a couple of years later. And it was around crazy story. 1919. He's in like a Western little short he's in. He plays like a cowboy. Right after that short comes out, he's posing for publicity photos. On the prop table, there's a bomb that says bomb and has a big fuse, and it's like, oh, it's a prop bomb. And he's like, this will be a fun photo. Picks up the bomb, lights the bomb's fuse with his cigarette, and he holds it. He's like, and he's like, this isn't a good photo. He puts it down. The bomb explodes in his hand. Oh. He loses 2 fingers.
Yeah.
He goes blind in one eye for like 6 months or something. So all of the movies we watch today, he's missing fingers. He is wearing a leather glove that is painted to look like his hand, with 2 like prosthetic fingers inside it. So all the stunts he does, everything he does, climbing a building, fake finger.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, excuse me?
Who? I mean, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of funny because, I mean, like, what? I mean, it's funny distance from it, but also as, like, a comparison to, like, today, because that kind of reminds me of, like, the situation of, like, I mean, Alec Baldwin just got charged with, like, manslaughter, and it's, like, you know, film safety on set, you know, and he's getting partially charged because he didn't check the gun and stuff, which I mean, I don't know.
I'm like, who put a real bomb on the table?
Yeah, it's like back then it's just like, hey, who made a real bomb that looks like a cartoon bomb?
Like, and put it with the other ones.
Yeah.
That sounds like something, were you trying to murder? Like, with someone in the background like, I'm gonna kill Harold Lloyd.
Maybe so.
And he was thinking that he might just retire then. He was like, I don't think I can do this. But then he kind of kept it under wraps. Like, people that were reading like knew, he was in an accident, but like a lot of people didn't know he lost his hand. He didn't talk about it ever because he was afraid that, well, everyone's just going to be looking at my hand instead of like watching the movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, once I knew that, I was watching, like, Safety Last specifically, and I was like, no, I can see, like, it looks pretty good. But just the way it, like, doesn't really move.
I didn't notice any of them, but I was also watching a lot of them in very low quality YouTube, so. But, what's it called? Yeah, no, that's certainly interesting, especially because like the industry back then was so cutthroat. So if they thought like for a second he couldn't act or something, they could have just found someone with all 10 fingers who could.
But I think it was right around 1920. There was a movie called Sailor Something, and he was one of the first people to preview his movies to audiences and gauge their interactions. Mm-hmm. And that movie, he kind of overfilmed. He put too many things, but people liked it so much. He's like, sure, let's just keep it that way. And that was his first feature. Just because of that, it became 45 minutes long. And then there was a movie he made called Grandma's Boy, which was
I saw that on this body.
I almost picked that one.
I was like, Grandma's Boy.
He makes a video game. Right. That one he wanted to be more of a dramatic role to show off his stuff, and he was really proud of it. And then the audience reactions flopped hard.
Yeah, that doesn't
because there was not a lot of comedy in it. So they went back, they recut it, and they added some comedy bits. And then it was one of his most successful movies. It was huge. He's like, okay, that's just what I got to do.
Typecasting was a big thing back then. It still is today.
And even then, he was really proud of his dramatic, more story-driven roles. And he made sure, that was what was in his movies. So then he went on, 1923 rolls around. He's walking down the street. He sees someone climbing a fucking building. Everyone's watching it. And that man climbing that building, Bill Struthers, who is the guy who plays his friend in Safety Last. So he's just like, what if I just made a movie about this?
Yeah, there you go.
So I'll talk about the movies as we go through them. But after Speedy comes out, 1929 rolls around. I think it's Welcome Danger. It was shot as a silent film. Mm-hmm. Right before they finish it, walking past a theater, and he hears people just scream laughing. He walks in, they're just watching bacon fry, but it's with sound. And they're freaking out. They're having a blast just because it's just random things making sounds, mm-hmm. and they love it. He's like, this is going to be big. That's kind of what he sounded like, which looks like it. What's nice about his character and why I think his transition to sound film worked better is he sounds exactly as he looks.
Yeah.
He's like, hey guys, how's it going? So they reshot a lot of Welcome Danger with sound, or they added sound to it. And that critically did pretty well, but I don't know if you know this, but something else happened in 1929. The Great Depression.
Oh, yeah.
So, commercially, it was a pretty bad failure. And that was kind of what happened the rest of his career, is he was still making bangers, at least according to critics, but just people weren't turning up. He just didn't. He might have had the star power, but nobody had money. And then, like I said, 1947 rolls around, I think, and that's the last movie he's in, Sins of Bittlebach or whatever it is. And he just doesn't like how the Hollywood machine works anymore. He doesn't get a lot of leeway on how he wants to make the movie, which is weird because Preston Sturges was like, I want to make a movie with you. I'm a huge fan. And then they had disagreements. Just go with the guy you're a fan of.
Right. If it's meant to be his swan song, you should probably give him some leniency.
And then last couple things he does with his life is he recuts a bunch of his gags, his favorite stuff, into a movie called, I think, World of Laughter or something like that, with an introduction by him. Everyone loves it. He's like, this is great. And then he does another one. People don't like it. And it's the first time one of his movies is critically panned, or people just aren't a fan. So he's like, okay, I'm dead. So he just stops making things. And that was pretty late in his life. And then a couple years later, his wife dies. 2 years later, he's diagnosed with cancer. He's like, I'm gonna trick it. A lot of his, like, stunts and stuff, he's always, like, tricking things. So it's the same way. He's like, I'm gonna outsmart this. And the doctor's like, you literally can't. You maybe have half a year left. He's like, huh. Okay. So he just is like, pretty much, I saw an interview from his friend being like, he was not the type of person that would want to be, like, on life support or, like, slowly dying. So he simply went home and he died, like, 3 weeks later. He just died really quickly. He was like, I don't want to fight it. But I just want to die. And what's pretty sad is later in his life, he had all of the, like, masters of his stuff, and he didn't want people to see them. Or he would be charging, like, just for syndication, if you want to run it, you need to give me $300,000, like an insane amount of money. Because he was really scared. Well, he wanted money. I'm not saying he wasn't greedy, but also he was really scared that it wouldn't latch onto audiences like it did before. He was really afraid that the modern audiences wouldn't get it. So that's what's nice about, like, the 60s roll around and he goes and starts touring with, like, colleges and showing people. And people love it. Like, Safety Last, people love it. But even then, a lot of his stuff wasn't really available until he died. While, like, Keaton and Chaplin, all their stuff was available. And that's one of the reasons that he is not nearly as big of a household name as those are. Even though, fun fact, when they were making their features, all of them were making their features, he was way bigger of a box office draw than either of them. He was, like, way more popular. And that's mostly due to Chaplin and Keaton. They play, like, these big, enormous characters. Lloyd plays us. He's like a person. Yeah. And that's just what audiences wanted to see at the time. And, yeah, it's sad to think that he died thinking, like, I don't know if, like, this will ever connect. I don't know if I'll be remembered. Because that's, like, the scariest thing to me, in my head. I'm like, I'm going to die eventually. But will I have a lasting legacy? And Lloyd is, to a lot of modern audiences, they have no idea who he is. They see Safety Last. If they've seen it, they go, that's Chaplin.
Yeah. And I think we watched Safety Last in a film is lit class. So when I was watching it, I was like, I was getting a lot of deja vu through it. So I was like, I'm like, 80% sure it's actually seen that one before. Because we did a Silent Era, and I think we watched that, and then we watched Modern Times by Chaplin.
I think I've seen Modern Times. I've seen The Kid and Modern Times. Which...
Yeah, I've seen a few of them. I don't remember. But they all kind of...
I'm probably going to just keep watching silent movies now, because once you're in a zone of it, I'm like, this is great. I'm in.
Yeah, no. I always want to watch, like, more, Murnau and,
yeah, because I still haven't seen Nosferatu. I haven't seen any Fritz Lang. But this year, I'm gonna become the cinephile I claimed.
I see.
But yeah, that's mostly Harold Lloyd. Yeah, I watched like 3 different documentaries on it. I was really like, I need to know everything about this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's actually talk about some of his movies. So, Safety Last, 1923. This was directed by, I think, Sam Taylor, co-directed by something Meyer. Let me check. What the fuck's his name? Safety Last. Fred C. Newmeyer and Sam Taylor. And Sam Taylor would go on. He would direct The Freshman with Fred C. Newmeyer, Girl Shy with Fred, and then by himself For Heaven's Sake. So we're going to be talking about him quite a bit as well. But yeah, so Safety Last, shortest of all the ones we watched. Simple premise, this guy lies to his girlfriend all the time. He wants to be this big successful guy. He wants to provide for his wife, or soon-to-be wife. So he moves to the big city and tries to get a job. Months later, he's struggling. He's on that grind, but he's struggling. and he's using all his money to still buy her gifts to try to have this illusion of wealth. And she visits him, and he's still pretending, but he sees his friend try to escape a cop, and he climbs a building to escape him. So he's like, I'll put that in my mind. And then he hears his boss eventually being like, we need to get more people coming to the fabric store and visiting our building. And he's like, what? Will you give me $1,000 if I have a good idea? And they're like, sure. And he's like, what if I have someone climb the building? And he's going to have his friend climb the building, but the cop's there. So he has to climb the first floor, and then his friend's going to meet him. But the cop's right there. So he has to climb the next floor, and so on until eventually he reaches the top by himself.
Yes.
So this is the only one I had seen previously. I watched this one in right before my birthday in August. And I really enjoyed it. I think my expectations were a little different when I had first watched it, because the actual climbing of the building doesn't happen until 49 minutes into this 73-minute movie. So it's only the last 20-ish minutes that he's actually climbing the building. The rest of it is he's on that grind.
Yeah. You do get that small building climbing sequence with the cop chasing.
Yeah, with Bill Strutt. Yeah.
But for the most part, the big grand set piece is saved for the climax.
And I was watching a documentary on how they filmed that climax scene. Because I'm like, did they just fucking climb that building?
I imagine they probably put camera arms out windows and stuff.
Well, so he wasn't actually climbing an entire building.
Struthers sense.
Because that's insane. When you see wide shots of someone actually up on top of the building, that's Bill Struthers. He was just his stunt double for that specific part. But they would go to the top of a building and they build a set right there. So he is climbing still probably 20, 30 feet at a time. And he's on the edge of a building still. So if he fell, he would probably still fall off the building.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as dangerous, I guess, but it was still pretty brutal. But I think because my expectations were different this time, I enjoyed this a lot more. I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. I think I think the gags in the first bit work a lot better for me this time around. I really like his working scenes. I love the way he sneaks into his work.
Yeah.
He's just I'm a mannequin. And then he's walking around, and then he jumps to scare his manager into the elevator and just gets back to work. And that happens a lot. His manager will be like, where the fuck is he? And he'll sneak behind him and just be I've been here the whole time.
Yeah. No, there's some pretty good stuff. I like, especially the part, I don't know, I love sound gags in silent movies where it's a character's doing a sound thing, even though you can't hear it. I think there were more examples of that in some of his later movies, but in this one it's the part where he's talking as the boss behind the paper, and he's I swear to God, if you come at me with one more
petty complaint,
about
your ass,
the way employees are dressed, dress code complaints, none of that, no more. And it's just good for you.
Well, and it's so with lip read, it's so easy to watch silent movies if you're actually watching them and if you're more used to it, because it'll tell you exactly what they say, or it'll be yes sir, no sir, and it's obvious what they're saying.
Yeah, you can usually tell by body language. It's oh, you can't hear what he's saying, but you can tell he's romancing this girl.
Yeah.
Or, he's kind of getting a fucking chewing out from his boss or something. It's usually pretty straightforward stuff. I mean, obviously you can't. If you need to get super specific with the details, they'll throw in a title card.
Yeah. There is enough. And I think specifically with Harold Lloyd stuff, he's just so good at being, his physicality in his performance. It's so easy to see, what he's going for, what he's saying. Yeah, I really like this movie. I really like the entire way up he's climbing. All of the gags are good. And even still, I know he's not going to die, and I know it's a set, But just the way it's shot really well, that it is convincing that he's on the side of a building climbing up.
Mm-hmm.
And it does still put a pit in my stomach. I'm like, oh! Like when he's climbing up on the clock tower and the clock, like, falls off. Or at the very end, the final, like, big gag as he steps over the rope after, like, hitting his head and he starts swinging.
Yeah.
That bit is insane. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah. Which is weird because, like, this is one of his, like, thrill pictures, and he didn't make a lot of these. That's probably what his, like, biggest lasting legacy is, but he didn't make a ton of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of interesting, because when I think of, like, thrill pictures, I tend to lean more towards, like, Buster.
Yeah.
Charlie's got a couple things, but...
Yeah, like there's the Charlie Chaplin one where he's like skating around.
Yeah, I think that's Modern Times. Where
that sounds right.
Yeah, where it's like upstairs and it's like next to a fucking railing that's not there.
Yeah, so I love seeing like the behind the scenes on that. Like there's so many cool things.
Yeah, that one's a little more obvious. I'm pretty sure that one's just like
I think it's a matte painting or something. Yeah,
it's like a layered shot where they have like the cutout on the film of where the stair railing is, and they just like shot extra footage of like a party downstairs or something, whatever it was.
I also really like in this movie his relationship with his roommate. Like they're fun. They seem like fun roommates.
I love the gag with the jackets.
Yeah, their like landlord comes to like get rent, and they're like, "Oh God!" So they put on these big jackets and just hang themselves on the hook, and they're just like sitting there.
Yeah, they like tuck
She comes and she's like, "Where the fuck are they?" And then they only have one share in their apartment, so Harold Lloyd just like knocks on the door again, and Bill Sturges like, "Oh no!" And he jumps up and he just takes the chair. Like, there's a lot of really fun gags, and like they're nonstop and they're fun like short gags. I like a lot of his extended comedy bits as well, but this just has so many like things that I'm just like smiling at. Then I smile at the next one.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in this.
The guy who plays the law in this, he would work with Harold on a lot of things, and I love that guy. I think he's great. Noah Young. He's in this, and he's in For Heaven's Sake. He's like the main bad guy in that.
Okay.
Or the main like
the kind of like
gangster guy.
Yeah.
And he's in a lot of his earlier shorts and stuff, but he's in Feet First as well. Interesting. But yeah, I think he's great. And you know, when I look at him in these two dual roles, I'm like, man, he could have played a good like Jekyll and Hyde if they had done a different. I've seen the adaptation from the 20s of Jekyll and Hyde. It's not very good.
I'm pretty sure they did like a few from like the 20s through the 30s.
Yeah, I've heard the 30s one is really good. So I'd watched the 20s one in preparation, and then I didn't like it, so I never watched the 30s one.
I see.
Which I will eventually. But yeah, 31 there was an adaptation with Frederick March, sorry, which I've heard he's incredible. So I do eventually want to watch that. I almost picked, like, when we were doing our monster stuff, we never did Jekyll and Hyde, but I almost picked that.
Yeah. No.
Eventually we'll get back to watching those things. But
we could do, like, a bunch of different... I mean, I love those fucking Universal Monster movie episodes. Do a whole Mummy episode, because I made a bunch of those. And most of them aren't as bad as you would think they are.
We did the first one.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about the... They're not sequels. It's like a different Mummy.
That's right.
But they did like 4 different Mummy movies, which kind of riding the coattails. But
what did you think of Safety Last?
I like
you'd seen it, right? Or you think you've seen it?
I'm pretty sure I had seen it. Like the scene where he had like knocked over the cop and the climbing up the building, like all of that, I was getting like major deja vu. So I'm pretty sure I have seen this before. But I liked it a lot. This one was probably my favorite, just because, like, it is, like, a thrill movie, so I guess that kind of does give it, like, kind of like that extra oomph, because I'm not, like, knocking the next group of films we're going to be talking about, but, like, a lot of those that aren't thrill movies kind of tend to lean on more like generic plots. And I realized at the time they were probably less generic, or maybe they weren't. I don't fucking know. Because obviously that huge chunk of early film is missing. But
oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is when I said he took a bunch of his masters, in like 43 there was a fire at his place. And, we lost, like I said, like he did the Lonesome Luke character, like 67 movies. We lost like 54 of them. And the good news is the Glasses character, I think out of like the 80 he did with that, we only lost like 13. But it's sad to think that those movies probably will never be found. Like there's always a chance we'll find them somewhere else, but
yeah, I mean, maybe there was like a theater that held on to a reel that got put in a storage somewhere. But yeah, with that era of film, it's hard because the film stock that reels were made on were highly flammable. Yeah. So it's like,
and he was like, he like personally ran into the fires trying to get them all out.
Yeah, well, of course he did. What a trooper.
Oh, also one thing that I do like about Harold Lloyd is in his mind he was like, no, these movies are like the best movies. Or he was like, at least some of the best. Like he put everything into it. I
mean, at the very least, they are a major significant part of film history. So,
which is I'm pretty sad that most people don't know who Harold Lloyd is now.
Yeah,
I'm going to make it my mission, and I think that's why this episode is going to be one of my favorites, is because like I feel like it feels like a discovery of like, this is insane. Like people don't know this. It's the same way like when we found like The Insult. Like nobody's seen The Insult. Like movies that I feel like nobody have seen. People have seen Safety Last, but The Kid Brother.
Yeah.
You know, for heaven's sake, like a lot of these movies people have not seen. And so anytime we watch a movie that I feel like we've like rediscovered something, at least for us, I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
But also Harold Lloyd, I do think like out of the three, he's by far my favorite. I like Keaton and Chaplin movies a lot, but it's just so easy to watch and get like captured by him, at least for me, because I really do feel like a lot of these movies still feel modern enough because of his character, especially with things like, well, I guess I'll talk about it, but like The Freshman for me, I was like, this movie is so good still. But yeah, Safety Last, I'd probably give a 9 this time around. I think I gave it a 7 originally, but I think all of the things that I didn't like about it were just from like the expectation, and because I knew what was going on, and I knew like, also this was the last movie I watched on my, because I'm like, I'd already seen it, so I just did it in reverse order this time.
Yeah, I was planning to watch them in order of like release, but then I ended up just kind of like,
I just jumped around. Yeah. I think the first one I watched was The Freshman.
Yeah, I think the order I watched them, I watched Safety Last, Girl Shy, oh gosh, not
For Heaven's Sake.
No, it's, The Kid Brother. Then I watched The Freshman. Oh no, I watched Speedy, The Kid Brother, The Freshman, and then For Heaven's Sake last.
All right.
But yeah, no, I liked this one. I would probably, I mean, if you're not well versed in silent movies at all, I would probably recommend, if you're going to watch anything from this episode, probably this would be your best accessible jumping on point. I don't think if you didn't like this one, you probably wouldn't be super into the others, but I don't know. I'm not you. I can't tell you what you do and don't like.
I feel like Hinatea, if she had watched these, she watched the documentary with me, but she wasn't actually interested in like watching most of them.
Yeah.
She would like look over and be like, oh, look at him go. I think she would probably enjoy most of the other ones because like every time she would look over when I was watching like Sage, she'd be like, fuck that.
No.
She's like, no. She's like, that's why she does not like thrill pictures, especially like older thrill pictures. Because I think there's the idea that like they could have died there. Like they could have actually died there because of safety.
There were no safety standards back then.
It's like, if I die, I die.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Girl Shy, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
One thing to note. Safety Last is the only movie we watched with Mildred Davis in it, who plays the love interest in Safety Last. She was in a bunch of Harold Lloyd shorts before this, but they were together. They got married after this movie. Mm-hmm. So this was the last one she was in because she started raising her family.
I see.
So she was replaced by Jobina Roberts, I think her name is.
Was that who was in the rest of them?
That's who's in the rest of them.
Okay.
Jobina Ralston. Yeah. And here's a hot take, I guess. I think their chemistry is way bigger than him and Mildred Davis from the things I've seen. Like Jobina Ralston, her and so the replacement. I think their chemistry on screen is like palpable in a lot of these.
Yeah, no, I know. I honestly thought it was like a situation where like they were married.
Yeah, no, me too.
Because that was very common. Like
maybe she's just a better actress.
I mean, maybe,
or maybe they were having sex. I don't know. But
I mean, who's to say?
But I really like her. I think she's great. And she has like that great like silent film like look.
Mm-hmm.
She's very intriguing.
Yeah, she kind of gave me like Margot Kidder vibes.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I can see that. So in Girl Shy, he's writing a book about all his sexual exploits. However, in real life, he cannot talk to women at all. He has a horrifying stutter where he just can't say anything unless he hears a whistle. It's a weird little quirk. Yeah, I'm like, okay, cool. Sure, let's do that. So
I like how no one ever just whistles either. It's always like they gotta blow on a whistle.
So he goes to like the big city, or he's gonna go to the big city to
pitch his novel.
But before that, he meets Jobina Ralston's character, the girl,
on a train. She's got a dog
on a train, and he helps conceal her dog because dogs are not allowed. And they start talking, and because he hears like the train whistle or something, so he's able to like talk to her for a bit, and they really hit it off.
They talk about his book.
And she's like, wow, you've been with a lot of women? He's like, yeah. She's like, wow, pretty cool. But then we cut to, I think they get into a car incident later on. I don't think
Well, basically, he goes and he drops his book off.
Oh, yeah, he drops his book off first.
And then he meets her again because she keeps driving the path where she would kind of come across.
She's like, I don't want to fuck this guy.
And there's this guy who's trying to propose. He's like proposed to her like 13 times or something like that. And she's just like, no. But she's out driving with him. And then
it seems like it's inevitable because like her family wants her to marry this guy because he's like well off.
Yeah.
But really, he's already married.
Yes. But yeah, so tire blows on the way to wherever the hell they were going. So he's like, oh, you stay here at the car, I'll go get a tow. And then she ends up walking onto like the family property or like the tape. I don't know. A lot of people he seemed to know were there because he was like, oh, the kids are playing over here. Oh, my puppy is...
I think it's just like because it's like at a pond, so I just assume it's like one of the town watering hole.
Maybe.
But yeah, I really like the shot of him underneath. Like, I think a lot of these movies look really good too. Mm-hmm. Like, there's some very cool shots.
Is this the one with the turtle gag where he sits on the turtle?
Yeah.
yeah, it is. Gag.
He sits on a turtle and he's just like, just listening to her. And then he's like, wait, what's happening? And he's just in the middle of the like lake.
Yeah.
Because the turtle has swam away. Mm-hmm. He's like, and she looks over. She's like, why are you over there?
Yeah. And he's just like,
and he like gets out and then, the other guy shows up And he's like, where the fuck's my, like, girlfriend?
Yeah.
And the old man, like, his...
it's Harold's dad.
Yeah, Harold's, like, dad is like, look, my boy is talking to a woman. He's like, that's my woman. He's like, hey, don't distract them. And he, like, pushes the old man down. Harold sees that. He's like, I'm gonna kick your ass. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, and then they're like, oh, we're all friends. And they're like, okay, bye. And he leads Jobin Ralston away.
Yeah. There's also this tree sap gag that I liked too.
That was cute. Yeah, a lot of the gags in this are like cute gags too. I really do think the love interest like aspect of this is pretty well done in this one. I don't really think that the book really adds a whole lot to the movie. Oh. Like him writing the book and those gags.
Yeah, it kind of leads to the most like contrived plot point, which it's a 1920s movie, so contrived plot points probably weren't on the table back then, but by today's standards, it's one of those where basically... So he goes to the book publisher, and everyone's read the book in the office because they think it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm gonna fuck you. And he's like,
So yeah, they fake him out when he's going in, they hype him up, and he gets into the publisher's office, and the publisher's like, fuck you, your book's trash, get out of here.
But then they eventually are like, they're like, we're gonna send you a rejection letter. And then they eventually send him a letter with money in it because they're like, this is actually funny. We should just publish it as the Boobs Diary.
Yeah, there's an assistant there who kind of felt bad watching him walk out. So he's like, well, yeah, we can publish this. So they send him a check for like $3,000. And he tears it up thinking it's a rejection letter. And then his dad figures it out. But before he gets this wealth, he had basically been like, once I get this book published, I've got a question I gotta ask you to the girl, and then he gets the rejection, so he's just like, I was not serious. I'm a real womanizer. See, there's this woman that I tossed flowers at earlier who's coincidentally walking by, and I'm gonna walk on by with her and buy her Cracker Jacks, which is an extra petty deep cut that I don't even know was intentional on his part. Just seemed coincidental, but also just like...
Because he had bought her Cracker Jacks earlier, and she, like, carried it around with her. I was like, that's so cute.
Yeah, she had Cracker Jacks, and he had her dog biscuits. Yeah. But, yeah. So, then she, who clearly upset, agrees to marry the other guy out of spite, and then their wedding's about to... So, it's a big Shrek moment. He's got the wealth, and he's like, oh, I know the truth. I gotta get...
Because he finds out about the guy's other wife, so he has to get there. And this is where the whole movie was based around this chase sequence. Because for the next 20 minutes, it seems, he's trying to get to the church. Yeah. And it's a little bit long.
I agree. I was with it through most of it, but then towards that last part, I was like, all right, come on, get to the wedding.
Apparently, the big, like, chariot sequence where that was like a huge inspiration for Ben-Hur, which came out the next year. And I think that's why he's like an uncredited role in that movie.
Oh, really?
But apparently Ben-Hur was like, we need to shoot it like that. Because I think it looks good. Like, it's fun. It's a little too long.
Yeah.
I like most of the gags in it. I love the gag where he's like, I need you to drive me, and he can't, like, talk to the guy. So he jumps on the car, and he's hiding, and then the guy just drives into his garage.
And then he, like, gets on, like, there's, like, a teenager learning to drive or something.
They're just driving a circle. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. He's, like, hiding, waiting for a car, and a little kid, like, rolls up in a little tricycle, and he goes, honk, and it goes, bonk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think that most of the gags here work, but it's just, as, like, a pacing thing, it's just, like, takes up so much of the runtime.
You're like, God damn, dude, you're gonna miss the opportunity at this wedding. I was kind of hoping they were gonna do, like,
he got there and the chapel's empty, like they'd been married for 20 minutes already.
No, I was hoping it was going to be like some weird, like, Monty Python editing gag where it's like, he's doing this the whole time and you're getting, like, sequences of the wedding, like, as it's happening, but then it, like, reveals that he's been there the whole time. Like, he shows up like 5 minutes before he needs to, and he's just like in the back, like eating something real quick or something. Just as like a weird editing gag, but clearly they didn't seize that opportunity. Yeah.
Oh. But I still I think the love in this movie is really convincing, and I like the characters in it. I just think the book angle's kind of weird and kind of unnecessary. I think having like any job and losing it would have worked fine.
Yeah.
Also, it's just like a strange pacing thing to have. Like, he's writing these two scripts right at the beginning, and they show these two fantasies like back to back, and then never again. Like,
yeah. No, yeah, I don't know. I don't have any issues with the book necessarily. Like,
yeah, I don't it's not a huge deal for me.
Yeah.
It's just kind of strange.
If the movie was less self-aware about like some of the content it was spitting, I probably, because there was a duration of the film where I'm like, is this as self-aware as I think it is? Because they don't let you in on the fact that it's like the office girls are like kind of doing a joke. You kind of have that feeling, but nothing like concretely confirms it. So it's
like show up and
they're treating him like a god, and it's like,
oh, I love cavemen. Yeah,
I'm like, is this a gag?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's hard to tell with some old movies because like I don't. Are the sensibilities the same?
Yeah, but clearly it did establish itself to be a gag, so I was like, okay, I'm all right with that. But yeah, I agree. I probably would have structured it differently, and I'm not a big fan of like that contrived, like, just tell her you didn't get the book published, dude. Don't be a jerk face. But yeah, I mean,
I think that is something about the sensibilities that have changed in the last 100 years. Both this and Safety Last, like, he like refuses to like say he's a failure, and I think is in a modern lens is like really annoying to watch. But I feel like probably hit pretty hard for audiences back then. I think watching it in a modern lens is pretty annoying. But
yes. No, I'm sure it was fucking...
They're like, that's what I would do too.
Banana bread at work for the audiences back then, but... You know,
another thing I forgot to mention about Safety Last is... like I said, it was a thrill picture, and there were nurses on site at most theaters because people were passing out because they were so afraid. And I'm like, that makes sense. If they were freaking out at the train coming at them like 20 years before, watching this, they'd probably be like, oh, fuck!
Guy points gun. Oh, God!
Don't shoot me!
It's just like...
Which is funny because that same gag, actually, like, they make fun of that gag in Safety Last because he opens the window and the guy's pointing at the screen. Yeah. He's like, oh, God!
Yeah, man. And that was, what, 1903? Yeah.
So just about, 1923. So just about, like, 20 years. But yeah, I like Girl Shy. It's probably one of my, like, less favorite. I really liked all of these, I'll say.
Yeah. I'd probably say this one was, like, my second favorite. Aside from, like, the pacing issues kind of towards that last final sprint. I thought this one, out of all of them, probably had, like... Maybe it was because I watched this before a lot of the other ones, but to me, the heart was in it the most, so I was like, okay.
That's one thing I will say about all of these, though. I think, like, he is able to put, like, so much heart in all of his characters.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'd give this one a 7.
I liked it.
There we go. Let's talk about The Freshman, which was the first one I watched out of these 6. This is my favorite. I loved this movie.
Yeah, I liked it a fair amount.
I think it has some of my favorite gags in it, but I think also, I think this might have, like, the most amount of heart for me. And I think the feeling of, like, otherness in this one, I think is conveyed the best out of any of these movies. Like,
yeah, I could do.
I really feel like I was rooting for him the most out of any of these movies. I'm like, hell yeah, you're gonna do it. But so he's a freshman in college. He's going to a new school. He's so excited. He had just watched a movie where it was glorifying like college, and it was with a guy called Speedy, and he would do a little dance and shake somebody's hand. Like, just call me Speedy. So he just started saying that to people and doing that as soon as he gets to college. And everyone immediately is like, this guy's a loser. Let's make fun of him all year.
But it's that type of make fun where it's like, we're going to build this guy up, but really just kind of make fun of him.
He's just a joke,
Yeah. So he's completely unaware that
he really feels like people think he's cool, and he just wants to be popular. He just wants to feel like he belongs somewhere. So he like tries to join the football team, and they tackle him for like 8 hours straight.
Yeah, he leads to the dummy that they use for tackling being broken. So they're like, "Oh, come on in, kid. You'll be tackle practice." So they just tackle him. They're like, let's just let him join the team as the water boy and pretend that he's on reserves. And so he's just the water boy for the entire movie until the final sequence, pretty much. The water boy? Grandma's boy? I think Happy Madison Productions has some apologizing to Mr. Lloyd to do. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, the water boy, Adam Sandler has probably seen this movie.
Maybe. He doesn't strike me as the type who would, like, do
someone involved in the writing of The Waterboy has probably seen this.
Potentially.
Whatever The Waterboy was based off of, whoever wrote that has probably seen this.
I think it was just Adam Sandler.
There is a domino effect for all of these movies that eventually lead to Adam Sandler movies.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
But he eventually, like... everyone like is like, you're the worst, we hate you. He finds out about it. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna win him over. The main love interest in this, she's like a worker at the school or something. She does a bunch of stuff. And they also like fall for each other in this. And it's also cute. And I think they're great together. I love watching them together. But she's like, you just need to be yourself. Like, I fell in love with you. Oh, she works at like the house he's renting or something like that. Yeah. He's renting like a poor person house, pretty much.
Yeah, basically. It's just like a room.
Yeah. But he does eventually play in the game because the other team is just tackling and annihilating everyone else. And they only have 3 points, which is not a lot in football. But they have 0. And he's like, he goes in for the final few plays and he plays his heart out. And he kind of doesn't really understand how football works. Yeah. Like, they're whistling. He's like, you gotta drop the ball, dude. And then that leads to another gag where he's like about to score and he hears like a whistle off in the distance, like a train whistle or something. So he stops. They're like, we're gonna fucking kill you, dude.
But then he does it.
He does it. I really like the football sequences in this. I think they're really fun. I like he unties the football laces, like he unlaces them, and then like yanks it out of other people's way, and then is like running, and they're all running towards him, so he just puts it behind his back, and they just run past him.
Do you think that these are legal moves in the NFL? Probably not.
I mean, you might be able to put the football behind you if you're still holding it. I don't know. I don't think unlacing it is legal.
I was gonna say, I wonder what the reaction to that in like a modern day football game would be. Just yoink.
I'd probably be like, yes!
Yeah, work smarter, not harder. But, yeah.
But he eventually wins the winning, like, goal, and then, everyone loves him, and he gets like a kiss. He gets a love note. It's very sweet. And then he sees everyone is doing his thing. He's like, I'm Speedy, and they're dancing. I think the coach comes up. He's like, it's not like this. It's like this. And it's like, it is really endearing. And it's like, after watching him like just be shit on, and he has this like undeniable, like, I'm still gonna do this. I'm still gonna be me. I'm gonna win him over. And he eventually does. And it's just really nice to see. I love this movie.
Yeah, I like this one quite a bit.
Yeah, I also, the like, dance scene they have, where his suit keeps ripping, and the old man has to follow him, and like, you gotta be over here, and he's like putting his arm behind the curtain.
Yeah, I think my favorite gag was the one where he's at like, some girl is like, "Oh, come dance with me." And he's like, "No, I need my pants stitched." So he's like, "Let's just sit down."
He's like sitting and he's actually like laying down. It's so funny when it cuts that, because I'm like, how is he like going like this? And it just cuts to behind the curtain and he's laying flat.
Basically
and he's just like
mermaid pose.
And this old man has like he needs alcohol.
Yeah.
So he like falls and he's on top of the guy and he's just slowly sinking. He's like, "Oh, yes, yes." And he's just slowly sinking as this old man's falling on top of him.
He just like ducks under the curtains. It's like, "Hey, I'll steal some money so you can get some booze."
And eventually he like loses all his clothes pretty much.
Yeah.
And then he like fights a guy because he's being a womanizer and being really creepy towards the love interest. And then that guy's like, "Just because of that, I'm going to tell you what we really think. We think you're a lame-o."
Yeah.
One thing that's so funny is like the stereotypical like bullies in this movie at the very beginning, like when all the freshmen, they're like, "Oh, drop and give me a push-up or bow to us," or whatever. He's like wearing a big old bow tie and a big hat. I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty intimidating."
Right. It'd be like if like Tucker Carlson were trying to make fun of you.
Yeah. It's also really funny because I like watching these documentaries and seeing like the physicality of Harold Lloyd is he was really into boxing and he was good at it. So it's funny to look at this and be like, Harold Lloyd could actually beat the shit out of anyone here.
Yeah, I wonder if he did any like boxing pictures.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think
because like Charlie Chaplin did. Yeah, it's
is it City Lights?
City Lights, yeah. That's I haven't seen that one, but the poster is him like boxing or whatever. But yeah, I think this is my favorite one. I just think it's really wholesome. And I think his character is one of the most complete in this one. And some of the gags are my favorite. And I love his little dance he does.
Oh yeah.
As soon as that happened, I filmed it. I'm like, I'm rewinding it and filming it. Yeah. All right, halfway through.
Yeah.
Next up is For Heaven's Sake, which is this is the shortest one we're talking about. This is less than an hour.
This is the last one I watched.
Cool. I'm gonna get my other drink because like I said, I'm really tired.
I'll explain the basic premise of this one. Harold plays a millionaire, and basically, he kind of just tosses money at situations where he like fucks with people's shit. Like he crashes a couple cars and just kind of like leaves them there, but he ends up basically accidentally burning down this man's like cart.
Yeah, he has a cart to like feed the homeless or the unhoused and stuff like that.
And basically, that man's daughter had like written him the night before because like I guess the papers just publish articles like, "Oh, he crashed his cars. He needs to find new ways to throw away his endless fortune." So she takes that earnestly and is like, "I'm going to write him a letter."
And then the guy's just like, "Oh, if only I had enough money to build my mission." And he doesn't even hear that, but he sees he's burned down the cart, so he goes up and he's like, "How much will it be?" And he's like, $1,000. He's like, and he looks at like the old decrepit cart on fire. He's like, "Really?" But he's like a millionaire, so he probably doesn't really register how much things cost. He's like, "Okay."
Yeah, sure.
And then the next day, my favorite joke in the movie is probably him walking down the boulevard with his friend, reading the newspaper. Because the newspaper says, like, billionaire Harold Lloyd, or whatever his name is in this. It's Harold something.
Yeah, it's always Harold something.
Gives money to something, but he's folded it over and he started reading it, so it just says like billionaire gives money, and he's like, what kind of sad sack of shit. He's pretty much just like, whoever does this is a fucking idiot. And then he unfolds it, he's like, huh?
Yeah, I want to say there was one gag that I really liked from this one, but I'm failing to think of what it was.
I think this one I struggle to latch onto because his character is just so not like anything we've come to like enjoy, in the sense that like he's a millionaire. He doesn't have the same like real world problems. He's not playing an everyman in this. Or when he is, it doesn't feel as authentic. Yeah. Because later on he's just acting like a regular Harold Lloyd character, but he's not. So, which is unfortunate because I think this one's really well paced, and I do think it's really funny.
Yeah. I remembered what the gag was. Okay. Yeah, because there's that part where they're like, we need people to come here. So he just, like, starts going to places and beating the shit out of people so they chase him there.
So they're like, oh, we need people to join our mission. And he like, I want to fuck this woman, so I'm going to help with that. So yeah, he goes around this entire block that's like kind of like a ghetto or like...
Yeah, the whole film opens with, like, there's uptown and downtown.
And downtown, nobody cares about, and people don't give enough money to, and everyone's poor there.
Yeah.
So he just goes around, he's like, oh, I'll help them. So he just starts walking into places and, like, hitting people, and then running out. Mm-hmm. And he does that for, like, the entire city block, and there's, like, 100 people chasing him by then.
Yeah.
And he runs in. And he sits down, he's like, well, I got him in, but I don't know how we're keeping him.
Yeah, and it just so happens that, like, a fair amount of them were involved in some sort of a heist. So, like, a cop is, like, saw the commotion, was like, I'm going to chase these people down.
And then Harold Lloyd's just like, okay, guys, just pretend that we're reading our Bibles and singing or whatever. Yeah, and they're like, la, la, la. So and it's that guy, Noah Young. In this one specifically, I love his, like, physicality and how he's singing. He's like, audio!
Yeah. But he comes up, the cop comes up and starts singing, and somebody, like, pockets his watch. And then, like, ends up getting caught with, like, all the jewelry shortly after. So they're like, oh, well... Scapegoat, here you go.
Well, the thing is, like, he was taking them as donations, and then they would have just been donations for the mission, and then that guy steals it all, and I'm like, well, that's on him. Oh, yeah. Well, he steals it all in front of the cop. Like, what the fuck?
No, definitely. So, yeah, he gets caught on his way out the door and gets arrested. So.
But they're all like, you know what? You're good with me. But he's like, we need to go get more mission books. And he goes into the other room with the Noah Young character. Yeah. And he keeps accidentally, like, beating the shit out of him. Mm-hmm. I love gags like that. I think they're really fun in this one. So, and, like, that guy looks so good dazed. Like, I love his facial expressions. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he ends up earning the respect of everyone after he levels that guy, so.
And he's gonna... After this, he's eventually going to marry this woman, but his rich friends are like, this is ridiculous. He can't marry a poor person. So they kidnap him, and as he's being kidnapped, he's, like, thrown in the car, and they yell to his, like, gangster friends, the scumbag, the villainy of the neighborhood, and they're like, he's not coming back. And they just, like, they get really sad, so they just start getting drunk, and they're like, you know what? It doesn't seem like something you would do. So, like, really drunkenly, they, like, go and all have an altercation. He's like, I would never do this. They kidnapped me. And that guy's like, I'm gonna kill them. He's like, no, don't kill them. But he does, like, throw one of them off the side.
Into a chair.
Yeah, that's good.
That was a good gag.
And then he's like, okay, we gotta get you back. And then they're just, like, drunkenly driving around town.
It, like, reminded me of, like... a video game or something. Like, there's this mission in early Red Dead where you gotta, like, herd cows, and like they'll veer off, and you're like, hey, get back with the crowd.
He's trying to get them on a bus at one point, and they keep just going off, and he's like, why do I keep putting them on? Like, I thought there was only 5 of them. He turns around, and then he just sees them all getting off right afterwards. God damn it.
Or there's, like, a bit where he hails a cab, and he's, like, putting them in through one door, and they immediately just exit into traffic through the other. They stumble into traffic a lot. It's like, how did you guys survive?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. But and then they eventually, like, commandeer the bus, and, like, one of them is driving, and the other one's, like, on the side doing this. And he's just, like, trying to get them not to die.
Yeah. No. I'd say this part also kind of started to strike me as a little too long, but only just barely. Yeah. And I think it also played into the mindset of Harold's character, because he's fed up with it at that point, and so am I as an audience member a little bit, so I think it kind of worked itself out a little bit there, but
they eventually get back, and he gets married.
Yeah, he, like, finds a chicken pen truck or something, so he walks
and they're like, and then they're like, you forgot us, and then the movie just, like, ends.
Yeah, he's like, fuck this, I'm just gonna go get married real quick.
At least they're here.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was For Heaven's Sake.
For Heaven's Sake. Yeah. And like I said, I think For Heaven's Sake is I really enjoyed it, but
yeah, I'd say it might have. I think that like go get people and bring them here bit is probably like one of my favorite bits from all of these, but as a whole, I think this was probably my least favorite. Maybe it was because I watched it last, but also just like you were saying, the fact that he's like a millionaire makes it really hard to kind of connect with his character.
It's weird because that's another thing that I don't really feel like is necessary to make. Like, there are some funny gags at the beginning. Like, I like the idea that he just breaks the car, so he just walks in and he just drives it out of it. He's like, oh, here's a check, goodbye.
Yeah, no,
like, that's fun.
He just as easily could have just, like, stumbled in any class position, been attracted to her and wanted to impress her. And
his friends don't like her for a different reason, so they cannot. Like, there's not really any reason to make him a rich character, and you lose a little bit of, like, the authenticity of his character.
There's also some, like, modern kind of subtext that you could add to it that makes it a little awkward, like the fact that he's, like, marrying this poor girl, and it's like, there's a power dynamic there, but obviously they weren't talking about those sorts of things back then.
Yeah.
But, yeah, interesting. Not bad, but
I said, I still probably enjoyed it about the same as like some of like Girl Shy because I really like the gags in this, but you lose a little like authenticity to it. Probably my least favorite of all the features that we watched today, but still really enjoyable. I really liked all these. I'd give this one a 7. What? 7's the lowest I'm gonna go.
I see.
I had a blast today. I was like, I wish we would just watch every Harold Lloyd thing.
That would be a lot, even with all the lost shit.
So let's talk about, almost there, The Kid Brother. So the last two we're talking about today are both directed by Ted Wilde. And this was about the time, for heaven's sake specifically, that was about the turning point where they really started pouring more money into it. And I do think it's pretty clear, like, where the money was going, because I think these last three look pretty exceptional. I think Speedy looks really good.
Yeah, Speedy looks really good.
I also did watch all of these on the Criterion channel, and they've all been restored since then. And, like, but Speedy looks fantastic.
The version of The Kid Brother I watched was a pretty rough version. It didn't look like it was, like, fully restored. Like, there was a lot of, like, inconsistency with the footage. And also, the audio for that version I was watching was, like, very random. Like, it didn't seem like it was, like, curated or...
Well, next time we do this, just let me know and I'll give you my Criterion login because...
I mean, I didn't mind it, honestly. Like, I just kind of... Because halfway through the movie, the audio just stopped altogether. So I was like, all right. So I just kind of, like... I was...
You just put on some Skrillex?
No, I put on, like, some, like, 40s kind of radio music and it worked just fine. So I was like, yeah.
Oh, remind me to talk to you about Keaton after this episode, specifically. Okay. But we're not talking about Buster here. We're talking about busting a nut because we're talking about The Kid Brother. It's really funny how small he makes himself in this movie because, like, Harold Lloyd was not actually that small a man. He was 5'10".
Yeah.
But everyone he has play his, like, siblings and his father in this movie are, like, gargantuan human beings.
Yeah.
They're, like, 6'4", 6'5". I say that as a 6'8" person. I'm a horrible human being. I get it. I look like a monster. But a lot of people talk about this movie, like, in these documentaries, is, like, a showcase of all the different, like, talents he had. And I do think that's true. I just think the pacing is off in this movie. I feel like a lot of things go on too long. I think this movie's... I really like this movie, but there's just something about it that I do think, like, there is good comedic moments, and there's good dramatic moments, and there's good romantic moments, but they all feel like these big chunks, and they're never, like, good, like... They're never interspliced with each other in, like, a good way. So it just feels like I'm watching, like, 4 different movies.
I can kind of see that. Yeah. This one This one's probably on the lower side. Not that I didn't like it all that much. Like, I thought it was pretty decent. But, yeah, this one probably, like, impressed me, like, near the least out of all of these. But, yeah, it was alright. It was about, like, a meek son of a sheriff who's got a couple big brothers, and it's very much like kind of like a Cinderella story almost. Like, they get to go out and do all the fun sheriff-y stuff with dad while he has to stay home because he's just a boy. But,
because he just can't. He's like churning butter, and he has all these like funny inventions. I like his dishwasher thing, where he just ties all the dishes in a net, but they're still stacked on top of each other. I'm like, that wouldn't clean them.
Right, yeah.
You're missing all the things that they're stacked on. But then he just has soapy water, he just spins it, so then it unspins in there. I was going to say that this is not necessarily a remake, but a lot of it takes inspiration from his earlier film, Grandma's Boy, which had a similar, like, vibe to it. He has to, like,
I see.
I think his grandpa was, like, a town sheriff or something, and he has to overcome, like, his fear in it. That's like one of those classic stories of like, here's this magic rock, it'll make you brave, and it's like, actually, this was just a regular rock. The bravery was inside of you.
Placebo.
Yeah. Which I do like those stories. Like, they're fun. I also probably would like it more knowing it was from the 20s and it wasn't just used every fucking second.
Yeah.
It probably still was, but maybe not as much.
Well, yeah. Maybe.
There were still books, I guess.
Well,
books are a thing.
That, and I mean, we touched upon it a little earlier, but I mean, a lot of movies back then were just kind of echo chambers because there wasn't a lot of frame of reference. So it'd be like, hey, I liked what I saw, and there wasn't like home media, so you can kind of get away with like ripping off other movies a lot easier because it's like a lot of people who might see your movie didn't watch that last.
Well, that's how Harold Lloyd got his start. But then he was like, I want to be my own character. And then that's when he got the most success. And Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, I think it was like Safety Last they saw and was like, that's like the greatest movie ever made. They pretty much were like, that's insane. Great job. We're so proud. And then the next year, Keaton did a movie that had a similar like climbing scene to Safety Last.
Maybe I saw that one then. I don't know.
It wasn't on a building though. It was they were, they all took inspiration from each other, but never in like a stealing way, I guess. Well,
maybe, but
it doesn't seem like they minded a whole lot. They were probably all very rich though.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that they were probably all pretty cool. It's sad that we never got like a trifecta picture.
Because we haven't watched it. I'm going to pick it for the podcast, but there's the Charlie Chaplin movie called Limelight, which is him and Keaton. And it's in the 50s. And it's the same kind of thing. They're like actors that have fallen apart because they couldn't make it into the sound thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wish I had picked that when we watched Sunset Boulevard. Like, that seems like it would be a great double feature. But I've heard Limelight is amazing. So,
what did we watch with Sunset Boulevard?
I think that was in the time that we were just watching, like, random movies.
Where it was classic modern, yeah.
Which, like, I still don't mind the idea of it, but we were like...
It's a decent gimmick.
We should have done things more... oh, yeah. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, so the Dark Crystal Show, Sunset Boulevard, and Dogtooth.
That...
Maybe the most random assortment of movies.
We did some pretty random.
Yeah.
Because it was just... We would not talk to each other about our preparations. We'd be like, all right, I brought an old one and you brought a new one. Not even in the same genre, but who cares?
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Well, at least I think we moved on from that relatively early, like within the first like 50-ish episodes of us.
See. Family Guy. Oh. Yeah, because we started. Well, let's see.
It might have been a little later, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure when. Wait. I imagine it was probably pretty early on that we figured out that wasn't.
It was right around the time when we switched to video.
Oh, was it?
I think so. So I think it was like it had to have been like 40 in. I think.
Yeah.
The Fog and the Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Yes.
Parents, Frankenstein, and Cure. It seems like maybe that one was the last like kind of weirdo one, because then we did the Mamoru Oshii episode, and then it was Gunbuster, Mobile Suit Gundam. Like all of these seem like.
I remember around that time we went on a pretty big like anime.
Yeah, we did Gunbuster and Diebuster, Mobile Suit Gundam, Oshii, and then after that we did Maniac Cop Trilogy.
Yes.
We've covered so many movies.
We have.
And we've watched so many movies we never would have watched, you know? You probably would have seen Maniac Cop. That's like one of the movies we probably would have seen.
I probably would have gotten around to it eventually, yeah. But, yeah. Now we can move on to Psycho Cop.
Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah. No,
we watched Scanner Cop.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah. But we were talking about...
we were talking
The Kid Brother.
The Kid Brother. Yes.
So, classic story. His dad's the sheriff. They've raised enough money for this dam. And this, like, snake oil salesman comes to town. This medicine show, which seems like they put on, like, a performance, but they're also trying to sell you snake oil. And one of the women involved is the love interest in this, but she seems like she doesn't like really care about being there. She just wants to like perform. And they kind of fall in love. Same kind of deal. This one, same thing. I think the love aspect's really good in this. There's the scene where he climbs the tree so he can see her more and more.
Oh yeah.
And I love the way that they use like the cue cards with the text on it to convey like distance. They do it in Safety Last as well, where the guy's really far away. He's like, "I'll be right back." And this one, he's like, "Bye."
Yeah.
And then he falls out of the tree. But this one's good. But eventually, those medicine people, the snake oil guy, he steals the money, and the money had been being saved at the sheriff's house. So they're like, the whole town turns on the sheriff. The guy who's like the hero to these people, that's one thing. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it was like instantaneous.
Yeah.
Which, whether it's, I don't know how to talk, intentional or not, does say a decent amount about like society.
No.
It's like, yeah, they're just, when it comes to money, they're ready to turn on you in an instant.
Mob mentality happens.
But the boys go out to look for these people and they can't find them. But Harold accidentally finds them because he gets like beaten up by some guys and then thrown in a boat. And the boat like drifts onto this like dilapidated like boat that's been sitting next to it where they're like hiding out and they're counting the money. And there's this big guy who's pretty scary. Earlier on, he has an altercation where he's like, I'm gonna get you. And the guy runs away. And then he realizes it's because there's a fucking snake on his stick. And he's like, oh man, I didn't actually do it. Yeah. But that guy kills the other medicine dude because he wants more money. And he just, like, straight up kills him. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. And then... So, Harold finds the place, and he's, like, trying to sneak around, but he eventually gets into a fight with this dude, and also tries to murder him. Like, they're fighting underneath, and then the guy falls in the water, and he's like, oh, help, I can't drown! And so he's trying to get out of the water, and Harold just goes up to him and starts trying to just push his head down. I'm like, Jesus Christ!
Right. I can understand not helping him out, but going back to active.
And I like how he, like, gets brave when he realizes he's like, I can kill this guy.
Yeah.
So then he's just starting to, like, punch him and, like, trying to drag him into the water. And eventually he throws a bunch of like life preservers over this guy, so it's covered him head to toe.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, perfect, I've got you. And he throws him over the water, and he paddles him to the land, and then he gets a carriage, and he drives into town right before his dad's about to die, and he goes, stop right there, motherfuckers! I have the money.
No trial, instant execution for the sheriff.
But he saves the day, and he gets the girl, and I love, this is maybe my favorite, like, final moments of the movie, they're walking together, and he sees the guy he's, like, been kind of enemies with the entire movie, and he's like, hey, can you go over there?
It's like his brother, right?
No, that's not his brother. That's just a weirdo guy that's, like, he was the guy who, like, put his butt, like, his fire on Bud earlier, and then he's the guy that knocked him out and threw him in the boat. Like, he's just like a random... I have no idea why they're enemies. I don't think they're brothers.
Okay, there's one line earlier on in the movie.
No, that's it. That's his enemy from the very beginning. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the egg guy.
Because I had to stop this movie for, like, 20 minutes, so I completely forgot. But yeah, his sworn enemy since they were kids or something like that.
Yeah, because he, like... sold him a thing of light bulbs saying it was like eggs. Or doorknobs. They were doorknobs. Oh. Yes. Must
but
be
then
some Depression era.
He starts like fighting him again, and there's just like a big cloud of smoke that comes up, or like a big dust cloud, and then the cloud settles, and he's off in the distance walking with his girlfriend, and then the guy's just like on the ground, just beat to a pulp. Mm-hmm. And I think that's framed really well, and it's just fun. Yeah. And it's he's brave now. He'll just start beating the shit. Yeah. And that's what I like about a lot of these, like, silent comedies, is, like, they're the closest thing I think we really get to, like, kind of Looney Tunes style, gags.
They definitely, like, probably, like, inspired a lot of those, like, early cartoons, because it's just, like,
we could do this, but even more in, like, cartoons.
Yeah, because, I mean, a lot of visual gags just kind of stemmed from, like, editing tricks where they were like, let's see what we can kind of get away with on presenting on screen, and then, I just imagine that transferred over to animation when they started doing that stuff.
Another one of my favorite... This is another sound gag that I liked, but there's the Betsy the monkey, or the monkey's walking around.
With the shoes.
So he puts his shoes on the monkey, and so he's walking up on the top of the boat, and the villain's, like, hearing it. He's like, oh, I know where it is. And he's, like, chasing, he's, like, sneaking around, and he just, like... jumps out, and it's just a monkey walking around with big shoes. Mm-hmm. And Harold's like sneaking around.
Was it Girl Shy where there's this one gag that he used in one of the movies where he's like, I think it's Girl Shy when he's trying to get to the wedding, he's like stealing people's cars and stuff, but he like has like a paper bag and he like pops it, and the guy's like pulls over because he thinks his tire popped.
That's Girl Shy, and that's the same guy that drives into the garage right there. That's how he gets him to stop. He goes...
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's a good gag. I like that.
And I think he was already using like these sound gags, so I think that's another reason why his move into like sound comedies did work. Yeah, because he was already like on board with it, and he never just like he never just added sound to his movies. He added like jokes that only work with sound in those movies. Mm-hmm. But. Yeah, I think Kid Brother's pretty good. I think it's kind of structured in a weird way where it feels like big blocks instead of interwoven, because I think the other movies juggle those pretty well, like the comedy and the romance and the action. Mm. Well, this one, it really just feels like big blocks to me.
Yeah, you could kind of see that.
I still think all those big blocks are good.
Yeah.
I mean, like them.
I will say, I think most of these movies... feel pretty segmented, like three shorts kind of stitched together into like a loose narrative. But I mean, it works well enough. Like it has a flow, but like it very much like, I mean, The Freshman definitely was like, college kind of loser stuff, and then it's like the big football sequence at the end, and I mean, Speedy. I mean, usually they kind of. It seems like a lot of these boil down to like a big chase sequence at the end of some sort, which I'm fine with because they're nice spectacles. Yeah. I think my favorite of all the chase sequences might be the one from either Girl Shy, or even though that one runs a little long, or the one from Speedy, which is a good segue.
I have Yeah. I give this one a 7 again. What? Let's go. Speedy. So, last silent movie he did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because after this was Welcome Danger. So.
Oh.
Because he was only, when he was doing features, he was doing like one a year instead of like 20 shorts a year or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So Speedy, I have a very fun fact for you in a bit, but most of the narrative of this, this is a really nostalgic movie for like his older characters. He's down and out. He's a downtrodden young lad. He can't hold on to a job. He's on that grind, but he also just wants to spend time with his love. And I think they call him like crazy for that. He's a young man in love. What's the difference between that and an insane person? Pretty much. You're right. He is insane.
Yeah, a lot of his like kind of like free spirit and kind of like attitude. I was getting like Lupin vibes from him a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, not that I think Lupin would like not really steal or anything, but if he wasn't a thief, I could see him living a life like Speedy here.
But same kind of thing. He's spending his money fast and loose because he just wants to have a good life. But they go to a bunch of stuff. His partner's father. He works as a railroad worker. He has a train car, a horse-driven cart that goes around like a city block. Mm-hmm. And he's being bought out by someone who wants to pretty much renovate everything, and he needs this. So he wants to get $10,000 for this. But Speedy sees this, and he's like, And he sees a newspaper being like, these people need this, pretty much. And he just changes the one to a 7. So they want $70,000. Mm-hmm. So he's like, absolutely not. And then he pretty much hires mercenaries and like the villains to go and beat up this old man.
Yeah, he blatantly states on his way out the door, he's like, fine, I'll coerce you
kill you
some other way. Like, I don't have to buy you out. There are alternative methods to this sort of thing. Like, and God willing, that's not the reality of life. Because, obviously you have lots of examples of like, oh, well, yeah, you won't move out, but, we'll cut the power and all the electricity and the water, and we'll make sure that rats infest the place, and we won't, clean it up. Yeah. So it's, real kind of tactics. But, of course, this guy's not their landlord, so he can't do that kind of stuff. So he has to just hire mercenaries. But unfortunate for him, he's got a bunch of Civil War veterans who are just kind of play poker in his train car at night that he allows. So, and
Speedy hears about this, so he's like, I want you to take a vacation. I'll take care of the car. And he tells these guys, he's like, hey, I need your help. And they're like, we're got it. They're like aching for a fight. Yeah. So eventually the people try to take the train car. He's like, ready, men! And just a bunch of old men in makeshift battle armor come out, and there's a whole brawl. And I'm like, this is sick.
Yeah, he's like, they have a password, something about the rain. I don't remember what it is exactly, but some sort of secret code that they just the rain. It's raining outside or something. And they're like, it's raining outside.
Yeah. Boy, it sure looks like it's about to rain, I think it was.
Yeah.
Or something,
yeah, but, so freaking, what's it called? So basically, some mercenaries, they're not mercenaries, they're street criminals, but a bunch of street criminals.
Everyone's a mercenary if you give them money.
Right. Get on the train car.
Yeah, they do eventually manage to steal it after being...
I was kind of hoping they were going to go for a gag, because it's all these very intimidating looking guys, and I was hoping just none of that. There was just going to be oh, that's the gag, that they all just look.
Those are just the regular guys.
Yeah,
and then the next people get up, they're all really scrawny old guys, and then
pull out cane knives or something.
But they try to fight him, and he sneaks back, and they're like, "What? Where'd he go?" And he's just at the front.
Yeah, he's got a little
hidey hole all underneath the chairs.
Yeah, it's a tunnel he carved out and pops out through a little vent in the front of the bus.
He vented.
But yeah, so then there's a big street brawl, and they get out of it, and they're just fine. But that greedy fuck's not going to give up yet.
Yeah. He eventually gets the train car, and he's like, I got to go get it back.
Yeah,
so.
he steals it, so he figures out where it's at. Because he's got like a dog that bites the pants off of one of the guys who stole it. So he like just goes to like a tailor shop that's nearby and sees the guy trying to get like his pants repaired. And there's just a big hole in his ass and he like puts it up.
Yeah. He's like, oh, it's him.
Yeah. It's like, who else would it be? But yeah, so he just tails him back to the place and then ends up causing a distraction with the dog, like makes it look like it has rabies and steals the car back. And
then there's a big
also,
chase.
Yeah, there's like a predicament where he gets told earlier, it's like, if you get one more ticket, you're going to jail. Is that this one? Or
yeah, because earlier he's like driving a taxi for one of his cars. And Babe Ruth is in the movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot Babe Ruth was.
I'm like, oh, it's Babe Ruth. Everyone loves him. He's
the
cool.
bee's knees, I guess.
The bee's knees, yeah.
A little before my time. Maybe. I mean, I feel like probably like our age was like, not to say like we were around for the Babe Ruth era, but we were still hearing about Babe Ruth when we were kids. We had like stuff like The Sandlot. And,
yeah, you're right.
What was that shitty fucking CG fucking baseball movie?
Everybody's Hero, I think.
Yeah.
With the magic baseball and baseball bat.
I don't know. I don't know if it's shitty. I haven't watched it in a long time. I'm assuming it's shitty.
I've only seen the trailer. I always tell one of my coworkers, "You remind me of the guy from Everybody's Hero."
Yeah. I think Babe Ruth plays like a significant enough role in that.
Yeah, because that's his. It's his baseball bat, I think, and ball.
Yeah, something like that. I haven't watched it like since I was like
I haven't seen it, so
9.
That's what we're watching next.
Yeah, we're gonna watch John Goodman's Babe and screw it, Babe in the City. But
yeah, there are a lot of things that happen in the first segment of this movie before he's like, you know what, I'll take care of this.
Yeah, this one's pretty segmented up like that. I mean, it all kind of has like, it's obviously anchored around his character and like his job and stuff, but
he's on that grind just like in Safety Last. But when the chase sequence that happens when he's trying to get the cart back, he crashes into a pole. That was an accident. Oh. The stunt driver accidentally crashed. And then after everyone was like, are you okay? Harold Lloyd's like, put that in a picture. And then he just filmed a scene. Okay, what? Oh, we're going to film a scene where I fall out of it instead.
Yeah.
But before they were just doing a chase scene. And he accidentally crashed. So.
Yeah, and then he loses a tire there, or a wheel.
And he's like, we gotta... So he takes a sewer cover.
A manhole cover.
Yeah, a manhole. And he's like, guys, I need your help. So everyone in the city, like, picks it up, and he puts it on, and he makes it back, and they, like, hooray! And the guy's, like, giving in. The rich guy's like, fine, I'll give you $70,000. And he's like, actually, this old man can't hear you until it's $100,000. No.
Yeah. So he's like, fine, you'll get a check in the mail tomorrow. And then, now that Granddad's affairs are all settled, now the two can probably get married.
Get married and have a little house together.
Yeah.
Because earlier they have a little house. Oh, he gets that dog from Coney Island.
Honestly, when I thought it was going to end with, like, basically the grandfather being like, oh, well, you saved the company and I don't want to sell it. I'll just leave it to you or something.
Because you can live in that.
Because, I mean, throughout most of the movie, like, he's got the dilemma of, like, I don't have a stable job. So I was like, oh, he's going to, like, step into the role here.
Oh, he's going to be on that grind for the rest of his life.
Yeah, but no. I guess he's going to continue being lackadaisical and just get more jobs on Monday.
That's fair.
Yeah, he's got one line where he's like, darn, this is how it goes. You know, I get fired on Friday, we go out on Saturday, and I got a job by Monday.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? I respect it.
No, I mean, yeah, you look
like there are more important things than a job.
I agree.
Spending time with your partner on a weekend? I think that's valid.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on a roll like that, sure.
He's on that grind. And it's funny because when he's at his job doing it, he's like pretty decent at his job. At least the first job he's at. The taxi one, He's kind of fucking up all the time.
Yeah, to be fair, that taxi's car door was against him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was not helping him out. And then, of course, he got that gig with... If Babe... Back then, in the context of like, oh, Babe Ruth's heyday, I just drove him here and he just told me I could come in. Yeah. Fuck my job. This is like I could be rich off this bar story for the rest of my life.
I love that he gets a ticket for a bunch of money and they're like, oh, and then his boss is right in front of him. He's like, oh, so this is what you do with my taxi. He's like, you know what? Give me everything that's related to the job. And he gives him the keys and then the ticket. He's like, what? No, I don't want these. And he's like, you said everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a good part.
Yeah, I think this one has a lot of gags. I love the Coney Island stuff. I think it's really sweet and fun. He looks amazing when the funhouse like mirror. There's apparently he flips himself off in that scene, and apparently that's one of the earliest recorded like things of someone like flipping someone off on the silver screen.
I see. Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think like this one's also pretty segmented, but I think this is probably maybe my third favorite. I really liked this. Had a lot of fun chases. Yeah. Had a lot of heart to it. Had a lot of comedy. Had a lot of love. And I think this movie looks really good. Mm-hmm. Probably looks the best of these movies. I think the Kid Brother, at least the restoration I watched, looks really good as well. But
yeah, this one looks pretty good. I watched, I think it was just a Criterion rip on YouTube that I watched of this one, so. Yeah.
But I would give this one an 8.
I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a blast with these. I'm so glad we watched these.
Yeah, these are fun.
If you ever have time, it's on YouTube, but it's called The Third Genius, and it's one of the documentaries I watched on Harold Lloyd. It's really good. And it came out in 89, so it has a lot of interviews with people that were still alive. Like Hal Roach is in it. And he's like 100 years, he's like ancient, and he's like, hey, I'm Al Roach.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting to see so many interviews from people that were around for the dawn of cinema, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Because there's no one you can talk to about that anymore.
Yeah, no. It's sad, but it's kind of the reality of like, even like beyond that era, I mean like feeding into like the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, we're losing a lot of people. Like
I remember there was like a big like, I want to say that there was talks of like someone trying to do like an Ed Wood documentary, but like basically everyone he knew and associated with was like pretty much dead. So it was like, good luck trying to get any good insight on.
Yeah, you can't get anything. Like, besides books, there's no more like first-hand accounts of things, and that's it's depressing because we are actively losing in very like. Do we need to write down everything everyone's ever said? Because I don't want to lose the information. Like, we've already lost so much from Harold Lloyd, Yeah. We've lost, like, probably almost half of his catalog, or a third of his catalog. And there's also probably, like, 50 or 60 shorts that are just locked behind doors. Like, what the fuck is the point of that? I understand film preservation in that sense, but scan it. What are you doing? Put it up. Yeah. Like, make it readily available for people.
No, it's really interesting, but it's just kind of part of the way of life. Like, I guarantee one day, like, half the shit we put on the internet is probably just going to blip. Like,
yeah.
We'll probably have, like, an internet crash or something at some point where...
Well, it's like, I don't know if there's, artistic merit to anything we do. I do it for fun and stuff, but I don't want to like lose this stuff, and I do want to just get a terabyte hard drive, put it on there. But even those things, you can lose stuff from there.
Yeah,
I do want to have backups of these, and I don't have most of these.
Yeah, no. I mean, no medium is perfect. I mean, they all have their decay and rot, even like discs and Blu-ray discs and stuff. But I mean, yeah. It's just part of the living experience, or the existence.
Yeah, it's kind of shitty. No,
it is. It's a sad reality, but until we conquer death,
we're gonna do it. Me and you.
The young Frankenstein. Just, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we did it. I think if you've stayed with us this whole episode, you probably have some interest in Harold Lloyd at this point, or you just really love us. But I highly recommend you check out some Harold Lloyd shorts. Even some of his shorts, like if you don't think you can handle a whole hour and a half of silent movies, watch a short. He has ones that are 5 minutes. He has ones that are 10. And if you're, want a little bit more, he has ones that are like 20 or 30 minutes that are pretty much just mini features. Never Weaken, I think, is one of his best. I think you should watch Never Weaken when you have time. It has a lot of similarities to things like Safety Last, but it's also about him trying to kill himself. It's funny. And it's like a weird, dark humor that I think it nails really well. But it's also like a thrill picture. Like he gets stuck on like these rafters and stuff. But yeah, that's like 25, 30 minutes. So. But another successful episode. Thomas, are we rolling or you got something?
I mean, I got something, but if you want to roll, we can roll. It's been a while since we've even rolled the dice.
I don't know where the dice are.
Okay, so I'll just we'll shelf the dice roll for another week.
Cool.
Okay, so we're gonna be doing basically a mini deep dive because it's a director, but they only directed 3 films, 2 of which were shorts. They tragically passed away pretty like around 48 in 1980 due to breast cancer, but her name was Barbara Loden. She's most probably famous for her film that she directed called Wanda.
Oh, yeah.
And then she did 2 other shorts, one that's 25 minutes. They're both from 1975. One's called The Frontier Experience, and the other one is called The Boy Who Liked Deer, both of which of those shorts you can find on YouTube. As for Wanda, I assume you could probably watch it on Criterion. I have the Criterion DVD for it, so... yeah.
Wanda is available on Criterion and also HBO Max, in case anyone else wants to watch it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Wanda's been on my watch list for a while.
Yeah, I watched it a couple years ago, and I remember thinking it was pretty alright. I'm interested to rewatch it now, so... Yeah, and I've always meant to check out the couple of shorts she did. She also acted in some stuff. She acted in like a few more movies.
Yeah, because she's the main character in Wanda, right?
Yes. Yeah, she writes, directs, and what's it called? Stars in it. So was really trying something ambitious there, and I think it's a pretty decent movie from what I recall of it. I mainly just kind of recall the premise and like some things that happen in it, but. Yes.
Sweet. Looks like our cinephile experience is continuing next week. And you too can join us by tuning in on the next episode of Screen Weens. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tell your fucking grandma that we love her.
Indeed.
Bye, everyone.